Howdy. Today we're going to be going over the Texas Penal Code, specifically Chapter 30, which covers burglary and criminal trespass. We're going to be dealing with today Chapter 30.02, which is burglary. Section 30.02, as defined by the state legislature, is a person commits an offense if, without the effective consent of the owner, the person enters a habitation or a building or any portion of a building not then open to the public with intent to commit a felony, theft, or an assault, or the person remains concealed with intent to commit a felony, theft, or an assault in a building or a habitation, or a person enters a building or habitation and commits or attempts to commit a felony, theft, or an assault. Now, to better understand the spirit of the law and what the state legislature meant when they designed burglary, is we have to be able to define these three key terms that holds the entire penal code all together. And for starters today, we're going to be taking a look at the definition of a habitation, which, according to the state legislature, is a structure or vehicle that is adapted for the overnight accommodation of persons, and it includes each separately secured or occupied portion of the structure or vehicle, and each structure to or connected with the structure or vehicle. The second definition we need to understand is what a building means. And again, according to the legislature, it means any enclosed structure intended for use or occupation as a habitation or for some purpose of trade, manufacture, ornament, or use. And finally, for purposes of the section of burglary, we need to understand what the definition of enter and what it means to really intrude into a habitation or a building. So, the first element of this, any part of the body, or element two, any physical object connected with the body. Therefore, if we were to break this down and think of your neighbor down the street setting out a fresh pie on a windowsill, if you were to go down the road and essentially reach through the window and grab your neighbor's fresh pie off the counter by the window, you have essentially entered or intruded into a habitation. Or if we think of it as if you used an object such as a stick, let's say with some sort of contraption attached to it to be able to lift the pie out of the habitation, then you have intruded and have committed burglary. Now you'll just need to hold your horses all together, and we're going to learn how we apply this in a few different situations. So again, burglary, a person commits an offense without the effective consent of the owner. They enter a habitation or a building with intent to commit a felony, theft, or an assault. They intend to commit a felony, theft, or assault by remaining concealed in the habitation or building, or they enter the building or habitation and they were unsuccessful or successful in committing a felony, theft, or an assault. So for starters, for element one, if we consider your neighborhood burglar essentially going up to your door, whether the door be unlocked or locked, and they were to open the door without your consent and were to walk into your home and with the intent to commit a felony, theft, or an assault, then they have essentially committed burglary. Now, for all the individuals that grew up getting the opportunity to watch Home Alone, you're really going to love this. So if we were to consider elements one and two together, our great example would be the sticky bandits from Home Alone and Home Alone 2. For Home Alone 1, when the individuals entered without the effective consent of the owners into the house in order to commit a felony, a theft, or an assault, they essentially met that first degree of that element there. Now, if we were to look back to Home Alone 2, when poor Kevin is lost in New York, and the individuals known as the Sticky Bandits remained in the toy story until it closed, and they concealed themselves with the intent to commit a felony, theft, or an assault while the store was closed and everyone was empty, they then essentially met element 2, which means to remain concealed with the intent to commit a felony, theft, or an assault. And unfortunately, if we know the Sticky Bandits all too well from both the movies, spoiler alert, they never really succeed when Mr. Kevin is involved and booby traps the home, which is element 3 of our offense. You do not have to be successful in committing a felony, a theft, or an assault of a habitation or building to be charged with burglary. And in this case, they are never successful and they are still charged with burglary. Now, with all those great examples of how to commit the act of burglary, we need to then understand how the legislature intended for this to be charged on individuals. So, if we start off, it is a state jail felony if the offense is committed in a building other than a habitation. So, for instance, if you went to McDonald's and you either concealed yourself till the store was closed to rob it for a Big Macs, or you decided, hey, you're tired of it and you just want to bomb rush into McDonald's with the Hamburglar and steal as many Big Macs as you could while the store was open, and you did not have the effective consent of the owner to enter the premises and essentially take all those items, then you've committed a state jail felony under burglary. Now, if we think about this in terms of a second degree felony, if at any point you go to someone's habitation, not a building, a habitation. So for this example, our sticky bandits, when they attempted to commit a felony, theft, or an assault while Kevin was at home, it is a second degree felony for them to enter without the lawful consent of the owner and essentially entered in there to commit a felony, theft, or an assault, even though they were not successful. Now, it is a third degree felony, however, if the premises are a commercial building in which a controlled substance is generally stored, such as a pharmacy, clinic, hospital, nursing facility, or a warehouse, and the person entered or remained concealed in that building with the intent to commit a theft of a controlled substance, then they have committed a third degree felony of burglary. For example, if you were to walk in today to one of the major hospitals in the Metroplex, let's use UT Southwestern Clements Hospital as an example. If you were to enter in there without the effective consent of the owner and you remained concealed or entered the property with the intent to commit theft of a controlled substance, then you've committed a third degree felony. Now, it is also considered a third degree felony if an individual or person enters the premises and they are a building other than a habitation, and it's shown on trial the offense that the actor committed the offense in the course of committing an offense under section 20.05, subsection A2. This essentially means if you have committed burglary of a premises at a building, and this was in part due to the fact that you were smuggling persons in an attempt to conceal them from law enforcement to violate federal law and remain illegally into the country, then you have committed a third degree felony of burglary. So do not hide and smuggle people that are not allowed to legally be in the country into a habitation, and you will not be charged with a third degree felony. And finally, it is a first degree felony if the premises are a habitation and any party to the offense entered the habitation with the intent to commit a felony other than felony theft, or committed or attempted to commit a felony other than felony theft, then they have essentially committed a first degree felony in regards to burglary. You cannot enter someone else's home without their effective consent and attempt to commit a felony assault or any other felony listed by the state of Texas.